The airport was buzzing with movement. Families hurrying to catch flights, business travelers glued to their phones, children pulling their suitcases behind them. No one paid much attention to the man in uniform standing near the gate. Sergeant David Carter adjusted his bag and stepped forward, ticket in hand. But this wasn't just another flight. He was on a mission. He wasn't traveling for vacation. He wasn't heading home. He was escorting the remains of a fallen soldier. As he handed his ticket to the gate agent, she shook her head. "I'm sorry, sir. You can't board early." What happened next? No one saw coming. Sergeant David Carter had carried out many difficult missions in his military career, but this one was the most personal. The fallen soldier he was escorting, a brother in arms. They had served together, fought side by side, and when that final call came, Carter made a promise to his friend's family. He would bring him home. Military escorts for fallen soldiers are a sacred duty. It's a tradition built on respect, honor, and duty. The escort boards early to ensure the remains are properly handled and to be present when the casket is loaded. Carter had done this before. There had never been an issue until now. The gate agent didn't seem to care. She barely looked at him as she repeated, "You'll have to wait." Carter's jaw tightened. This wasn't about boarding early. This was about respect, and right now respect was being denied. Sergeant Carter took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. He had faced worse situations in combat, but this was different. "Ma'am, I'm escorting a fallen soldier home," he said, his voice steady but firm. "It's standard protocol for military escorts to board early." The gate agent barely glanced up. "I understand, but that's not our policy. You'll have to wait until your boarding group is called." Carter clenched his jaw. This wasn't about privilege. It wasn't about a seat assignment or getting overhead bin space. This was about honoring a soldier who had given everything. He tried again. "Please, this is a military tradition. I need to be present when his remains are loaded." The agent sighed, rolling her eyes. "Sir, I already told you. Rules are rules." Nearby passengers started listening in. Some exchanged looks, shaking their heads. They knew something wasn't right. Carter exhaled slowly. He wouldn't argue. He wouldn't beg. But before he could step back, a voice from behind cut through the silence. "Let him board." A businessman in a crisp suit had stood up, arms crossed, and in that moment, everything changed. The gate agent hesitated, clearly caught off guard. She glanced at the businessman who had spoken up, but before she could respond, another voice rang out. "If he doesn't board, I'm not boarding." A woman standing near the gate holding her child's hand stepped forward. More murmurs spread through the crowd, frustration turning into action. "This man is honoring a fallen soldier. Show some respect," someone else added. Within seconds, passengers all around the waiting area were standing up. A man in a flannel shirt spoke loudly, his voice steady. "Either he boards first, or none of us do." The airline employee's face flushed. She looked around nervously, realizing she was losing control of the situation. For the first time, she seemed to grasp the weight of her mistake. Just then, another airline staff member, a manager, hurried over. He took one look at the scene, at the passengers refusing to back down, and quickly made a decision. "Sergeant Carter, you're cleared to board now. Please go ahead." The moment Carter stepped forward, the entire terminal erupted into applause. The airline had made a big mistake. But the American people, they hadn't forgotten what respect looked like. As Sergeant Carter walked down the jet bridge, the sound of applause still echoed behind him. But the most powerful moment was yet to come. When the plane landed at their destination, the pilot's voice came over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a fallen hero on board. Please remain seated as we honor him." A heavy silence filled the cabin. No one moved. No one spoke. As Carter stepped onto the tarmac, he saw something he never expected. The airline staff, the ground crew, even some of the passengers from his flight stood in a solemn line, heads bowed, hands over their hearts. The airline had made a mistake, but in the end, honor prevailed. Because no matter what, America remembers its heroes.